Have you ever astral projected or like had lucid dreams?
Not astral projected, I don't think. You know what though? Chris always he'll have dreams where he can wake himself out of dreams. I always find that fascinating. I dream really hard. Like I'll dream. I
could do that too.
And I'm in another world.
Interesting.
But I can't wake myself up out of a dream.
Oh, me neither. Me neither.
For me, you just have to die.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I thought that was dangerous.
Well, if you see yourself die, it's dangerous.
See yourself die.
But if you're like falling, you're like, oh, I'm going to die, you wake up, you know. But if you're like, you see yourself dead, then you're apparently dead.
Yeah.
I had like that house I was telling you about. My whole childhood is, I was haunted by dreams of me dying constantly. I was dying in my dreams every night. And I would wake up my parents every night. This is like 3, 4, 5, 6, super young, telling my mom, like, I don't want to die, because I kept dreaming about death. Like, I have a weird relationship with death. Like, my whole life.
This happened in your childhood house?
Yeah.
And you would just go to sleep knowing you're going to have a dream about dying?
Yeah.
Like, what, were they different ways every time? Or
Constantly. Falling, burning.
Oh, man.
Lots of assassinations. It was like people like were chasing me with AK-47s. And then this carried into, like, I stopped having the dreams. I swear, this is so weird. This is true. When I was a freshman in college, 3 different people who I know, but they don't know each other, in 1 week, all had the same dream about me dying.
That's crazy.
But it's worse than that. All of them said I was ripped to shreds by a sound.
A sound?
Sound. Yeah. All 3 different. Did not know each other. I was like, how are they playing, tricking me? They didn't. This is before Facebook and any of that stuff. There was Hot or Not or more MySpace, but
that's crazy.
They weren't friends. Isn't that weird?
And they called you to tell you about this?
Texted or called, yeah.
They felt so compelled that they should tell you about this dream. See, that's another thing. When people die that are close to somebody and they want to reach out to the person they're closest to, they sometimes will, from what I've heard, like reach out to somebody who wasn't as close to them to deliver the message or something like that.
Yeah, it could. Who knows what that stuff means? What that means? I mean,
you're still here.
I'm still here, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Well,
this is from the past.
I used to have reoccurring dreams, and it was one in particular where I was always crossing this bridge, and it was always very long and thin. It was always nerve-wracking because you're crossing a bridge, and I don't know why it stopped or why I was even having them, but they say things like that, like along those lines. Is you're working something out.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Or a transition in your life.
Seeing as how I have always had a relationship with death, I think I might represent death to some people, because growing up on a farm with all the funerals I've had to perform, and then just
do animals like you in general, or are they scared of you?
No, animals we're chill. We're good. There's some that don't like me for sure. I've been hurt by a lot of animals.
Dude, me too. Like dogs.
Oh yeah.
Me.
Oh no. Interesting.
Yeah. No.
I think they do.
Because you just said you're a cat person.
Well, I am a cat person for a reason. I got bit by a lot of dogs as a kid. But I also didn't know that if you're scared of a dog, they can sense it and then they bite you.
Yeah.
I've said it on the show before about good vibrations. Do you know the history of that? Why Brian Wilson thought of that? Because when he was a boy, he asked his mother why that dog was barking at that man, and she said because dogs understand like bad vibrations or good vibrations, and they understand if it's a bad or good person. That obviously stayed with him, and he got good vibrations out of that, which I love. A great song. But no, I have a fine relationship with animals. It's just death. Always been that way, and I've had a weird like comfort with it. Like I've been with many people as they've died. Animals, obviously, my grandparents and other people taking care of elderly as they're on their way out, but in hospice, visiting people. I think it's a very strange. I know some people want to avoid it, and I totally understand it. Death, they just don't want to be near it. They don't want to have to hear about it. I know people around our age who've never experienced death, which is wild to me. Like I've lost people my whole life. Yeah. And dogs and horses that I've loved, and friends from all types of reasons, but it's just crazy to me that some people are so, and I think that's a lot of society that is cut off from death, and that might be on purpose. Our society has sterilized death, which they shouldn't have done. It's a sacred, sad thing, So maybe that's my way of working out why these people dreamt of death, of me dying. But it's weird, and my whole life, childhood was bothered by dreams of me being chased through the woods, all types of crazy stuff. And then my grandfather was a hearse driver, So there is also that.
Do you think that drove you into this line of work?
Oh, boom! Because the hearse and the driving is good. Perhaps, I don't know. I think it was that old house.
Well, we also talked about generational trauma.
There's also that.
So you could have been born into God knows what, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe something your mother was dealing with when she was pregnant, or even.
Man.
Oh yeah. I think for sure. There's so many. We could psychoanalyze me all day, but I mean,
Right.
My grandfather was a hearse driver. Before that, he was a cop in New York City in the 70s. When that city, it was like, that's the summer of Sam, that's Son of Sam, that's Berkowitz.
Yeah.
But people just think of Berkowitz, but that city at that time was completely a hellhole.
Yeah. It's like Gotham.
It was like exactly like Gotham. The whole place had been, all the villains had been unleashed. Yeah. And he would tell me he had a dead body every day. He would have to go and sit with a dead body because it was some crazy crime. And not just like, oh, that's dead person. It's like the walls are painted red and there's a baseball bat there and no one knows what happened here. And he has to sit and wait for the people to come take the body. So he got in the habit of talking to dead people because it would help pass the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, so then maybe I had some issues due to that. So there is that. And then it seemed like a nice transition from him being that to a hearse driver.
I wonder if he talked to them on the way to the funeral.
In fact, he did. He sang to them. He had a great singing voice, and he sang to the dead as he drove the hearse, which he liked because
what kind
it had
of songs
good
did he sing?
Probably the old 30s, like standards.
That's creepy.
Yeah, I never.
Just
thought
when
of
you think about like an old 30s song playing in like
ragtime,
it's usually ironically scary.
Yeah. There's a song we were. My second or third cousin, I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe it was his second or third cousin. I forget the name, but there was a guy who was a pop singer from like the 30s, and he had real big hits. Like one song called "Shaving Cream." We should find it. I'll post it. But he was singing these types of songs. Those are the things he liked from the 30s and 40s, and that's what the dead people would hear on the way to their. It'd be really
creepy is if like one of those songs was being like emanated from the basement of a funeral home. Sung by a dead guy.
We should record it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of his life, I sat with him at the very end. I was with him as he died. And then his funeral was on my birthday. So you see, I have a very strange relationship with death. He would have laughed about all that because it was hilarious. We had a very dark sense of humor that we always talked about. So this is not a therapy session for me, though.
Well, it all made me think that, like, I found out the other day that my grandfather's dad was a veterinarian and owned a veterinary clinic in an animal hospital in Canada.
Whoa.
So, yeah, my dad just told me this. I'm like,
vet clinics are strange.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
He was also a musician, so
interesting.
His son, my dad's dad, was. So just weird animal music stuff passed down to me, I guess.
Interesting. Pet sounds. Another reason for pet sounds. So when it comes to ancient aliens, where are you? You like that transition?
Yeah, it's great.
Dude, it's weird. Everyone always makes fun of the show and how ridiculous it is.
Because the guy.
Well, it is.
It's
Giorgio Tsoukalos.
You know the name.
Of course I do.
He's Greek?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I like him.
But yeah, they're all... it's like they almost shrouded everything. It starts off like... There's a reason it's on the History Channel. It's because like it really just shows you old monolithic structures that still exist, and then they speculate about how. So it's like... Baalbek, there's a temple of stones of, 176 stones lined up in such a way. Could it have been aliens? Ancient alien theorists say the answer is a resounding yes. And then it goes on and tells you, like, facts that are true that, and then they inject their ancient alien stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think it was necessarily ancient aliens, but all they say those are just like, is it possible that people smarter than us came here before we got here and did some stuff?
What do you think?
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Where do you go with that? Is there a certain type of theory you subscribe to? Because there's so many.
I think that, like some people say, like that's where all the Greek mythology comes from. Like the Greek gods were aliens. Some people go as far as to say like Jesus was an alien. Like I don't.
Yeah,
believe that.
There's that guy going around now saying that. Billy Carson. Am I getting that? I might be getting the name wrong. I'm sorry if I am.
Oh, that's all right.
But I've seen that clip recently of a guy saying Jesus was an alien. You think so?
No.
No, I don't either.
No. Well, for me, there's like a circle of like, here's us, and then there's a bigger one, ancient aliens, and a bigger circle that encircles all that, and that's like God and divine stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
So, are you of the school of thought that thinks aliens are demons?
I don't know, actually.
You ever think about that? There's people who say these things that are visiting us are,
Oh yeah,
just be demons.
what do they call them? Nephilims?
Well, the Nephilim could be, but the people talking about that are mostly talking about the stuff that's referenced in Genesis, I think, like before the flood, where the Nephilim are the fallen angels that were procreating with humans, and then God got mad.
Sounds a lot like Greek mythology.
I think Greek mythology is real. I don't think it's mythology.
No, I mean, we keep finding more evidence of like different
Giants.
stuff that has happened that, dude, I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what I believe.
Did you always, I like this conversation, did you always think of it like this? Or was there a certain point in your life where you started to consider faith differently? Or did you always,
yeah.
So let's start with, I guess we'll start with faith.
Dude, it's so weird. I was raised Catholic, so I just didn't have a second thought about anything until like, I realized Santa Claus isn't real. I'm like,
wait, what?
What if God's not real?
Oh, it was a domino effect.
And I'm like, no, that can't be. And then I got to like 19, and I'm like, okay, I don't believe anything. I'm full-blown atheist now. Stephen Hawking said this, and then I was like, but then I reasoned my way back to like, well, that doesn't make any sense either. So none of this makes sense. And then I had like a series of weird divine things that happened to me that kind of brought me to the point where like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make this leap of faith. They call it that for a reason. It's like, I mean, I'm with it, and now I'm kind of like in a point where I definitely believe there's a God, and the closest thing to that would be, I guess, Christianity for me. And so I'm kind of just rolling with that for now. I don't discount anything. Like, I keep an open mind. I used to say like I believe in everything until I have a reason not to believe it.
Right. So Scientology, you're open. Honestly, though, the way you're talking about aliens visiting, that is part of Scientology, right?
With Scientology, I think that has a lot to do with Aleister Crowley, which was supposed to be like the most evil guy in the world, right?
Well, they do say that. I don't know as much about him, but he did talk to demons.
I know he was associated with the guy that started Scientology.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you were going to say that wasn't his brother like a eugenicist and helped start
I'm not
the
quite
eugenicist
sure.
movement. Interesting character, and I need to do a deeper dive on him. It's just a name that's always thrown around. People know so much about. I got to get into it.
Well, he's a bad dude.
Bad dude. It's weird when people really like him.
Who does?
Oh, I know there's people out there who really, they think he's great.
What?
There's a ton of people. There's probably running our country right now.
I'm sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Those people for sure.
But I don't know. I think Scientology, I would entertain that, except for like, I think I read somewhere or saw somewhere that the guy started it basically as a way to evade taxes and created this religion that just became a cult. I'm oversimplifying it. I could be totally wrong. I'm willing to be persuaded, man.
We have a big Scientologist audience. And
do we?
No. Not that I know of. I don't know.